we're hoping, and they don't know. They can't give us an answer because I've asked, I said, oh God, what are they up to next? Right? Are they going to do it again? And they said, we're watching. They're in a position of monitoring at this point because they're not sure what action they're going to take. The Anunnaki League are actually doing the watching for the Guardians pretty much because they have more ins. They have a better spy network to get into the UIR things because they have something, some grids that are coded to their grids that they can use to find out. But we're actually kind of like on call to find out what is next with these guys. This goes back into what I think I talked about a little bit in the orientation of there may come a time when it will be hard for us to go to a group or to be together, to do anything. And that'll be the time, and almost be the time for each of us to get our particular part of that mass awakening, where you just realize why you learned what you learned, and you'll be glad you learned it when you did. Because if you had tried to learn it, that, but when it was needed right in front of your face, there wouldn't have been time to learn it. So what you're doing now, the healing you're giving your body, the protection you're giving yourself by going into flame body with a part of the planet that is going into a bridge zone ascension, you're giving yourself a gift that down the road a bit you'll appreciate more. That road could be anywhere from 2 days to 10 years long. I don't know. It will probably be, you may be able to, even at this point, appreciate that I'm going to sit down for this. Here we go, council's coming. Okay, they're going off the graphs for a minute. Okay, this is kind of us here. All right, they want to talk about something. I don't know what they're going to say. Just hold on. As it comes through my head, I'll hear what it is, and you'll hear it as it comes out of my mouth. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. Ma is asking us to consider for a moment the position that we're in right now in relation to context. If you look at our world, it's doing its thing as it's been doing for ages now, and look at the amount of people that are out there. You've entered a space of having a level of knowledge, of information, of knowledge, that is completely different than what most people out there know. And it would take them probably quite a long time to get it. How long did it take you? I mean, we had to, we can go, this has been a couple of years now, and it's like one step after the other, after the other. There was a huge body of knowledge to get to the point where any of us could understand what was happening today. We had to learn about Cathara grids, we had to learn about Merkabas, we had to learn about all sorts of stuff, including tons and tons of history. And it was history that a lot of us would have much preferred had been different. It would have been so nice to know that Archangel Michael was a good guy, that we could all say, hail Archangel Michael, hello, how are you, It would have been nice to know that it was all peaceful and loving here, that this was just the awakening we'd always been promised, and everybody is going to go off and smell flowers together and hold hands and sing songs. We've gone through a lot of tests in this period of it is the information age, have you noticed? We've gone through tests. This information challenged our belief systems, challenged everything we thought was real or thought we knew. And for some reason, it still came back, which is a credit to you. They were tests that were put here a long time ago, primarily by the other guys. Tests they did not think the races here, after they got done with them, would be able to pass. They figured it would be a cakewalk, just kind of go in, hit no problem. They're all like oblivious and 99% asleep and totally mutated. They're not going to be a problem at all, right? Well, we've become a problem, and that's good. There's a race line here that's being resurrected from an almost permanent near-death experience. Since 25,500 BC, we have been in a species near-death experience, and nobody knew for sure if it was going to go into a complete bardo or if it was going to come back. Right now, the people who listen to this information and resonate with it, who feel it and are working with it and care about it, say, hey, it might be a little out there compared to what other people think, but it feels right and it makes more sense. If you look at the other stuff that people teach, it's like, okay, what's that connected to? It's like they don't connect the dots. They don't show you context. At this point, you're carrying a knowledge that was the knowledge that was originally yours, and there's just the beginning of it. There's a lot more knowledge that eventually we'll learn, but we don't have to quite learn so fast anymore. It's going to slow down once these changes lock in, because the big hurrah is actually over. Now, that doesn't mean the outer manifestation of the big hurrah is over. It simply means the big changes, we are moving through them right now. They'll primarily finish with day 4 tomorrow. Then we'll have a simple job for those who want to do grid work of resetting the Ruche pillars, and there'll be a little bit of grid work involved with that because it helps the planet if we're here, to directly assist. There'll be Kathara healing to, for those who want to go in that direction, to begin to clear out the stuff. And there'll be time to sit down and kind of take a breather. Say, oh, okay, now that I've got all this information, that makes it so I can hardly even have a conversation with anybody anymore out there, right? You learn to just talk about the things they're interested in primarily, and the little bits of things that you can almost use code language, like let them say angels, that's fine. If they like Archangel Michael, just respect their wishes, it's not worth arguing. But we're moving into a time together now where we're beginning the building of the race line that was almost extinct. It's because of what's being done with you and the other people like you who have participated in this work, and a bunch of others who don't even know they're part of this group yet. They'll come out of the woodwork eventually. We are literally saving a couple of race lines, the human race line and the indigo race line. It's families that have been in the Earth system. That's phenomenal if you think about it. If we could take a little bit of time to just try to feel the reality of what you're sitting in the middle of right now. Okay, I got a lot of wacky charts up there with information. But it's information that's starting to show itself in very real ways. I mean, how many blackouts do you need to take out, 21 power stations between Canada and New York and Toledo and where was the other place? New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey and New York State both declared into Ohio. Yeah, New Jersey and New York both declared states of emergency. Because, the power was gone. No power. In fact, it still was when we left to come down. I think this is the beginning of some of the wacky things that we're going to start seeing on a more regular basis. Another little piece of wackiness is the news reports are getting really interesting. In France, there's been 3,000 people died from the heat in the last couple of weeks. 3,000 people died from the heat? Yes, Paris. Just in Paris? Oh, wow. That's even worse than I thought.
They're thinking now that they would recall the medical professional qualifications. They're thinking they're not even taking the action to recall it. So how many more needs done?
Yeah, really. Yeah, I heard they were taking some flack for their, let's say, lack of response when the problem was coming. It's just getting strange out there. I kind of think it's funny because one of the things in the New Age movement that never settled right with me was they would tell you to don't watch the TV. Oh, because you get beamed with stuff. Well, yeah, you do. But you should watch what the hell's going on in the world. You just put up your flame body. Even your Maharic seal would protect you from that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Az was just pointing out that there's another weird thing that's happening that I forget where you got that information from.
It was on CNN.
It was on CNN, okay. That the water, okay, on the east coast of the States, the water is like 20 degrees below its normal, like what would be its normal seasonal temperature. And like it's starting to affect the businesses and stuff, the tourists and everything, because people aren't going because you can't, the water's too cold to swim in and that kind of stuff. There are weird things starting to happen. Little ones here, there, or there. If we don't pay attention, we should watch the news. Watch it and make notes, here and there. When did that earthquake happen? What was its magnitude? When did this happen? When did that happen? And compare it to what you know. See, this is what will make your experience here different than the other people who couldn't give a hoot about this work. You will be able to see patterns. You will be able to watch things and know what is happening underneath them. And if not exactly what at the moment, at least why. That is a huge advantage. It carries a responsibility with it too. There's a bunch of people out there that Well, let's say in New York City, they were actually commending the people of New York City because there was very little issues of rioting or looting or any of that wacky stuff that when people have the lights go out for a bit too long, it can get really strange in big cities. New York has handled it very well, according to news reports. But what if that went on for 2 weeks? What if it went on for a month? What if it went on there in Los Angeles and some of the major cities in Europe? And what if that happened all at the same time? Do you think people would still be all, well, we'll handle this? They would progressively begin to freak out because they'd start to get scared. Yep, and you're absolutely right. And of course the financial systems would collapse, as I pointed out. We're moving into a time period that the changes you just became aware of before the fact that they were out here, during the fact that the changes are actually happening. There's going to be a time when you start to look around and you go, oh my God. And I was sitting there going, gee, didn't even get a big energy rush or anything. Like, wow, you have some spaceships or some beautiful light balls or streaks of light across the sky. Something would have been nice, right? There'll be a time when you look back on that and go, oh boy. Delayed reaction manifestation. Oh, I get it. Okay, it takes a while before it surfaces in the hologram, right? The changes that our planet has gone through and our solar system are monumental. And in our bodies too. You're going to start feeling changes in your bodies in positive ways. You have a chance to heal now like you never have before since 25,500 BC. That doesn't mean you're going to instantly go, bang, I'm perfectly in good health. I have my eternal body back. I'm immune to pain. I'm immune to cold. I don't need to eat. I don't need to sleep. Eventually you'll get there. But it's probably not going to be before 2012. Don't worry about it. What we need to do is be able to keep up with the time pulse. Because the time pulse in the planet is changing. The time pulse has to do with that 7.8 hertz vibration. That is going to be changing. In fact, it's already started to. And I do believe some of the scientists know this, and that has been some of the information that's being covered up. And there's also changes in the magnetic fields that are happening that are also being covered up. They're being covered up because if people knew, people aren't that stupid. They'd put 2 and 2 together and realize something big was going down. So we're sitting in the middle of this now with one big difference. We know why. And we know what to do. We know where we want to go. And we know how to get there. I had a talk with my daughter once. She's 21 now. I believe she was in 9th or 10th grade in high school. And I said, there's going to come a time, because she was getting into this, I got asked to be a peer mediator, shall I do it? I don't know. Where you get to go in and help your peers solve problems and issues that they're having in school, right? And an awareness hit me. I said, I think it would be good for you, actually, because there's going to be a time when things in the world might be very, very different, and things might be really scary for people around you, and they might be acting in really strange, wacky ways, angry ways or upset ways, because they don't know what to do with the things happening around them. And this training would help you to be able to stay calm, to be able to have a little more insight, so you could help them instead of fall apart with them. Well, in a way, this is like that peer mediation training that my daughter did decide to go for. With the knowledge that you have, that knowledge helps you to get a grip on the largeness of the picture, to get a grip on what the best way to handle your personal energy is in relation to it, so you don't have to freak out. It's not going to be something, if it starts to get really wacky out there, it's not going to be of really big help to start pulling out catharographs and saying, look, people, look, see, it's this. Great. They don't want to know at that point. At that point, it's too late because they're already scared. What they need to know is that they can be safe. What they will need to know is that whether or not their bodies stay or go, that there is a God, and that they will go home to that God. And let them call it what they want. Meanwhile, you'll be walking around thinking, wish there were a few more indigos on my block, But you also, see, we have a crutch here. We've been kind of pushed into going horizontal for so long that we've gotten lazy on going vertical. Now, what happens if you find that you become so aware that there's nobody horizontally anywhere near you that you're going to be able to have a conversation about what you would like to talk about. There's nobody you can go to answer your question, right? Did you ever, it was really sad. I never went to New Age workshops. I was never into that circuit. I couldn't afford it at the time. It was just not an option. I'd buy a book here or there, but that was it. But I always wanted to be able to go to one of them. But by the time we got our books out, I couldn't find one that I could go to answer my questions. I tried it once by invitation. I was slightly, gently dragged, convinced to go with a group of friends from New Jersey. And, they bought the tickets for me and said, come on, you're going. Oh, okay, I'll go. Well, that's not a bad idea. And it was a Drunville workshop. First one I'd ever been to. And I swear, I can't do anything without getting in trouble. I mean, I was just going to go because I really, really thought at that time, it was before the history was revealed, I really, really thought that this person had more of the answers I needed. I knew we were working with the same group, and that was before the Pleiadian agreements were broken. And I kind of went, and I asked 2 questions. I can't remember what they were, but boy, did I get in trouble. I realized, A, he didn't have the answers. I asked about the Halls of Amenth. I asked if he knew something about Syrian Council giving us the okay to release the information on Keylontic science, which meant Cathara grid science and heavy Merkaba science. And he danced around the questions. I won't go into what was happening in the astral field when I asked that question. But I realized something. Great. This guy's supposed to be the best out here. So the best, greatest, metaphysical teaching as a whole bit. And it's like, they were teaching me this stuff when I was 9, And I realized something. It made me feel very lonesome because I really, really wanted to go. Please teach me something. Well, I learned other things. I went, please teach me something about, about this and this. I had like 20 million questions I was hoping I would answer. I didn't get those things answered. I didn't learn those things. I did learn some other things, however. So it was definitely a learning experience. But you'll get to a point where going horizontal gets pretty boring. Because, how many classes like, how many Reiki classes can you take, for example? Reiki's okay, you can learn Reiki. But they don't know about Cathara grids. So if you know about Cathara grids and Cathara healing, you've got something to teach them. That if they used it with the Reiki, it would be even better. The Reiki would improve the Reiki. You get to the point where you find it's hard to be the student all the time because you end up being the one that knows more than most of the people who like to tout the fact that they're teachers. This is when going vertical comes in handy and not distracting yourself by horizontal, by going out. You go up because there's lots of them up there. There's lots of Iani, there's lots of other Christic races that we look like kindergartners too right now. We were them once. We had that knowledge too. But it's going to be a long time before we get our bodies to the point where they can hold that much data. Because data is frequency.